and guests, and not necessarily those of the station or its management.
It was another quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks. Good morning, and welcome to Tuesday. Here on AM 830 WCRN, every Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock, and Monday and Fridays at 1 o'clock. Remember, and of course, the Sunday morning talk block. I kick it off at 6 a.m. Mike Wade at 7. Peter Blue at 9 o'clock. Hey, Jerry Doherty slides in there around 9:30. We are live streaming on the TuneIn app. So, of course, if you don't have that on your device, right? It's seconds to download it. Punch in WCRN, and you have the station 24/7 streaming right there. Take us anywhere. Do me a favor, hit the like button so we know that you're there. And I'm also streaming the show audio and video. I am at the Cameo Studio, so the Cameo Cam is on, and you can check that out on my social media platforms, and they're easy to find at Joe M Show. At Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I Show. And that's the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that, YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and it's Twitch TV that it's Joe M Show. So multiple ways to check us out. Please do so, and follow social media as well. We'll be expanding to posting the shows on Rumble, and we've also have that Getter account as well. Remind folks too that as of this past couple of weeks, I am on the Frontiers of Freedom website and their social media with the Frontiers of Freedom report, which is a roundtable type of program done with a few of the senior fellows from Frontiers of Freedom, along with the president, George Landreth. And that is taped every Friday morning and then put out there. So check that out. I'll share the link on my social media platforms as well, so you can check out that roundtable discussion. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Ted A back at the HQ flying the board. So same thing. You call 508-871-7000. No changes on how you get into the show for two-way talk and conversation. So the chapter in the saga continues with the Mar-a-Lago raid. Trump is suing for Master. Right? He files a motion for what they call a special master to review VC's materials. And this special master, in this is a common thing. They are an unconnected, unbiased third party. I mean, that's what they're supposed to be. But of course, today, is there anybody who's down the middle? It's hard to find something. Although I maintain there's more than they want you to think there is, right? Between the media and so forth. But you'll decide. Because there's also another interesting story, a survey done out there about college students, about whether they would room with somebody of the opposite party. I'll talk about that in a second. But Donald Trump, on yesterday, he asked the federal court to temporarily block FBI from reviewing the materials that it sees. So just, you have them, don't look at them. Stop, secure them, right? And then his motion that he filed is saying that we would like to have the U.S. Justice Department provide him with a more detailed property receipt outlining the items that the FBI seized from Mar-a-Lago. Now, every report has been consistent that they just seize. Right? I mean, I'm envisioning them, walking in like we see these people in major cities busting into the Walgreens or the jewelry store and just putting their arms out and grabbing everything. I'm picturing FBI agents doing that at Mar-a-Lago. Just the thought that pops in your head, the way it's described. That they basically were going through every room in the house that was residents, breaking open the safe, going through Melania's wardrobe, and just taking stuff. So the motion is saying, slow the roll here, stop looking at this stuff because you probably have a bunch of stuff that you have no business looking at. For one thing, I mean, they grabbed his passports, including his diplomatic passport. That should have never left the premises. There's no reason for that. None whatsoever. Was that a mistake? An FBI agent doesn't know what a passport looks like? Or is it literally just empty drawers into the banker's boxes as they took them out? But you don't just take a citizen's passport, especially a diplomatic passport. And as a president and then former president, his passport's a little different than the ones you and I are going to have. In it, one thing, it extends diplomatic immunity to other nations. So a special master is supposed to be a third disinterested type of party. And they're not supposed to be biased to one side or the other. In this case, Republican or Democrat would be part of that rule. And it happens in court cases all the time. And the purpose of that special master is to review what has been seized and take anything that would be covered under, say, client-lawyer privilege or is totally unconnected to the case of personal nature to be returned to Trump and the family. And only things that are pertinent and germane to what the scope of the warrant says can stay. Now that's in theory what's supposed to happen. There should have never really been a need for this. I mean, I think as we go on this, we see more and more, and for those still paying attention, I think for a lot, right, this is already dropped out of the collective consciousness there. But it happened, and we're still dealing with the aftermath of this. And I think the bigger question is the whole concept and idea here of the fact that we have seen our intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies, abuse the power that been given them. Now, is it their fault? I think a lot of the fault lies in the fact that the lawmakers have continued to grant them the powers. They've continued to vote to extend and renew, say, the Patriot Act powers. And we've seen these same things that we said, okay, you can do that to foreign operatives and terrorists, but they're using those same techniques on American citizens, and they're spying within the country now. And they're throwing terms around, I think, very lightly, like domestic terrorists. And they've even used, as we found out in the Virginia situation, the school with parents, the same moniker and system that they use to monitor terrorists within the United States. So it's scary there. It is very Orwellian and very Big Brother-ish. And that should have never happened. And the more that we find out about this, that it sat on Merrick Garland's desk for weeks, so you can't really say there was exigent circumstances and that this is a matter of time sensitive. Because warrants in this case is supposed to be in a situation where either the person's about to be indicted or been indicted may flee, or that they may destroy the evidence that you want or the items that you want. No indication of any of that. Donald Trump is going to flee. I mean, that's just silly. And he has no intention of destroying anything. As a matter of fact, Mar-a-Lago is equipped with a skiff and secured rooms, locks, even locks. They have asked him in these months-long negotiations. And see, that's the other thing. And I have to wonder exactly how much information was conveyed to this judge. And I think the judge was shocked for. He recused himself from an earlier adjudication because it involved Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. He said I couldn't be impartial, but for some reason, that doesn't seem to apply in this case. I think if you're going to recuse yourself on one thing dealing with Donald Trump, maybe because you can't be impartial, maybe you need to recuse yourself from any future rulings or cases or adjudication that might require you to look at Donald Trump. Just saying, makes sense. No? Yes? I don't know. 508-871-7000. What say you? So, President Donald Trump, through his undersigned counsel, I'm taking this from the motion, guys. President Donald J. Trump, through the undersigned counsel, specifically files the motion for judicial oversight and additional relief, which seeks an order that A, appoints a special master, B, enjoins further review of seized material by the government until a special master is appointed. That's the, hey, you have it. Stop looking, stop going through the boxes, secure them, and wait until the special master is there. You have no really legal grounds to continue to look at anything. C, requires the government to provide a more detailed report for property. Yeah. Not just receipts that say, we took X number of boxes. Every single scrap of paper, item, folder, file, anything, computers, or anything taken needs to be inventory. That means written down, date, time, who is doing it, has to initially evidence chain of custody, a description of what it is and what it contains. So at that point, that even means, okay, passport, diplomatic for Donald J. Trump. Second passport for citizen Donald J. Trump. And then there was a third one that was an expired passport. It has to be written out in detail what it is. D, requires the government to return any seized items that was not within the scope of the search warrant. Duh. So this is a post attempt here to nullify this fishing expedition that they did. And there's no doubt it was a fishing expedition, is there? Politics cannot be allowed to impact the administration of justice. President Donald J. Trump is the clear frontrunner of the 2024 Republican presidential primary and in the 2024 general election, should he decide to run. That's an important aspect to this. The filing also noted Trump has been successful in endorsing candidates in these midterm elections to something like 94% of approval. So clearly he's the head of the Republican Party. He would be the front-running candidate by any metrics you look at if he was to run in 2024. And you cannot escape the appearance of political republicanism, or rather, republicanism. So that it's very sad, folks. But hey, we have to take our first break on the Tuesday morning edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Stick with us. We'll come back on the other side as we continue. 508-877-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-861-7000.
If you were to ask any retiree in a word, they would tell you that retirement is all about income. Income in retirement is a permission slip to enjoy life. Income provides the freedom to spend money each month, knowing that more will arrive next month and the month after that. As important as it is to accumulate assets for your retirement, it's equally, if not more important, to maximize the income being generated from your assets. My name is Jerry Doherty. My radio program, Making Money Last, has been heard right here on WCRN. Well, do you know if your retirement income is as high as it could be? Are you living off less than you should be? Well, I'd like to offer you a complimentary review to answer that very question. Simply call my office at 877-772-1776. I'm conveniently located right on Route 9 in Westboro. Again, my number is 877-772-1776. Let's increase your income today.
There's a threat targeting America, one that's growing fast, but may still be hard to see. Lyme disease. Spread by tiny ticks, often smaller than the head of a pin. This dangerous disease is now more widespread than West Nile, tuberculosis, and HIV/AIDS combined. And if left untreated, it can lead to arthritis, facial paralysis, and even memory and concentration problems, often called brain fog. As the threat of Lyme disease grows to more than 300,000 projected cases each year, it's time for us to target Lyme disease. That means checking for ticks when you've been outside, even in your own backyard. It means seeing a doctor if you experience the symptoms of Lyme disease, which can include joint pain, flu-like symptoms, fever, fatigue, or sometimes a bullseye-shaped rash. Set your sights on stopping Lyme. Learn how you can target Lyme disease at targetlyme.org. Brought to you by the Stephen and Alexandra Cohen Foundation and this station.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Joe Mangiacotti Show, Tuesday morning edition. Before I forget, I'll tell you now, I will be sitting in for Jerry Doherty Thursday morning at 10 o'clock for Political Thursday. I join him anyway, but business has taken him out of the seat for Thursday. So join me. We'll, of course, be speaking with Holly Robichaud, and we'll have a surprise guest at 10:30. But again, I'll be in alone, solo, for hosting Political Thursday this week. So join me then, and of course back on Friday at 1 o'clock. In the meantime, don't forget that you can also check out the show simply by going to social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Joe Mangi, M-A-N-G-I, where we're streaming the show right now, as well as on the LinkedIn and YouTube channel, and even Twitch TV. Feel free to do that. And of course, you know that the station is on TuneIn Radio. So today's Tuesday, right? Normally, Tuesdays we think of election days, and it's a primary day in 7 states. Primary elections in 7 states today will set the stage for the U.S. House and Senate races this fall. And many contests shaped by political fissures, like gaps here in both major parties, and the lingering shadow of former President Trump. Now, the thing is, it's kind of it's expected to be low voter turnout. Okay, because the primary is not being held on the first Tuesday of September, right? It wasn't held on the first Tuesday of August, and that's usually, par for the course, right? We hold primaries, elections usually on the first Tuesday. Now, I don't know why we don't do primaries on the same, say, first Tuesday in August or something, or September, across the country, but every state can choose their primary day. But it is shaping up. But I think the here, like New York, is a very interesting set of races going on, and it's going to be a low voter turnout because they popped it on, the 23rd of August, which people aren't used to. This is different. They've never really done that before. So, you're changing things up a little bit. Was that by accident, happenstance, or purposeful? I would say that incumbents would really want to have any advantage they can in their incumbency. Not that, the incumbency doesn't already have many built-in advantages. But low voter turnout is always very good for incumbents because it becomes an election about your base. The base game. If your base gets out, then you've got the election because you don't have the X factor in there as much. You can predict. And there is a science to this election then, guys. And they're studied. When you're running for office, I've been through this, both as a campaign manager, as a candidate, you look at the several cycles of voting, and you crunch it down. And you look at when the election's being held. Is it a presidential year? Is it a midterm year? What are the dynamics of that particular race, and what is the voter turnout? And then you can tell, of course, who went to the polls because you cross-reference who voted that day with their registered party affiliation. And more people are getting to that on-enrolled status. They like that feeling of independence. But you can often get a pretty good idea of where they lean because of either parties, tickets they pulled in the primaries, where you got to declare a party when you go in, but then you can come out of the polling place, come out of the booth, the curtain, or what have you.
Caller Marcus Unrulius.
Simply put yourself back to unenrolled. So this can be a very low voter turnout in New York. So from Buffalo suburbs on Lake Erie to the eastern tip of Long Island, New York, people are going out there to cast their ballots today. And it's going to be a low voter turnout. It's going to be very important as to whether you get your base up. And we have 2 long-term Congress people who actually, because of redistricting, they lost a seat because of the census. Because, I mean, if we were to look at, I know here, there's been this exodus from Massachusetts and New York to Florida. And then even some other states too, like Carolinas. Good friend of mine here. She seemed like instantly, right? Put the house up for sale in Worcester and Lake Quinsigamon. No, there wasn't a lot of discussion. It was like somebody offered a ridiculous amount of money. This was right before everything started to crash, by the way, right? Because that's another issue to talk about. The number of deals that have been canceled, people pulling out, new construction's being canceled, interest rates are going up, construction costs are going up. The real estate market has done a kind of a 180, one of the fastest times I've ever seen. And I've had my hand in real estate since 1984. So this is crazy. 508-871-7000. Let me jump to the phone real quick. Mark in Worcester, waiting patiently. Good afternoon, sir. What say you?
Article
Good morning.
4, U.S. Constitution. Familiar with it?
Yes, I am. And this is one of the issues that Trump is.
All right, I'll just read it to the people. I won't take up too much of your airtime. For your audience who may not be familiar with it. Article 4 of the U.S. Constitution. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
Exactly. And do you think that?
Have a good one.
Thank you, Mark. And given my Mark, and that's great. Maybe every once in a while I should actually read some of these things that we casually make reference to. And when you look at the situation at Mar-a-Lago, do you feel that this fell within the Constitution? And I got a great thing to talk about the Constitution, because you may not know this, but it's broken, according to some Ivy Leaguers at Yale, Harvard, and of course the New York Times. I'll get to that in a minute. Put a pin in that one. But the Constitution was very clear about this. And why were they so clear about these things, folks? Because they have been living under the thumb of a tyrant, the king, and they knew what life was under a tyrant, and that these soldiers could bust in and, rip up their homes and not know what they're looking for and just decided to harass you. So Article 4 that says we are secure in our homes, in our papers, in our persons, in our effects. And this is why the issue over this warrant, but more importantly, right, the discussion had turned to the affidavits. Because an affidavit is just a legal document that you affirm and attest to under oath. Sounds familiar, those words? Right? So the affidavit is something you affirm to under oath. That this is what I know. And this is where they get that outline for the warrant, that they are looking for something specific in where it is. And that you're not supposed to, under the Fourth Amendment, Article 4, be able to just simply check you out. And in a conversation the other night with some friends, we asked that. We said, well, geez, right now, how would you feel about ratio? I don't know how many square feet Mar-a-Lago is, but over 30 agents. But let's say 6 agents for your typical home, your 2,000, 2,400 square foot home, 6, 7 agents. Show up for 4 or 5 hours and go through everything in your home. And when you ask what you're looking for, they don't tell you, and it doesn't specify it. Because when you're dealing with, and this isn't even, I mean, this is a situation that was under negotiation that he's been cooperating. And again, I wonder whether the judge has been told that every time they've requested something, they've turned it over. So there's all this cooperation. National Archives Administration even sent a thank you note to the president, former president, thanking him for his cooperation. So what was it they were looking for, especially after we now find out that darn warrant sat on Merrick Garland's desk for 2 weeks? What was it that they could be looking for that a subpoena would not have achieved it? So going back to that, how would you feel? Would you think your rights are a little violated if 6 or 7 FBI agents show up at your home, tell you that you need to leave, stay outside, we don't want you to have any security cameras on while we go through your house, and then they just take boxes and boxes out? I mean, wouldn't you?
They had the request for 2 months.
Even if they said something like, "We're here to find this," I would venture to say most people, and I think in this case, the president or former president, I'm going to say president. Once you're president, you get to keep that title. President Trump, I think his lawyers would have just simply said, "What is it that you want? We'll go get it. Come with us. We'll unlock the door in the skiff or the vault or this, and we'll give it to you." They wanted to do what they did. And did you notice that it was broken because Donald Trump posted, "Hey, they're seizing Mar-a-Lago, all these agents and so forth." I think then this is a case. Wasn't like every other time they make an arrest or they search a place, whether it was Roger or whatever. CNN's already waiting there. They knew what they were doing was sketchy as all get out, and they knew what they were doing didn't pass constitutional muster, like Article 4, right? So they're saying, we're just going to slip in, we're going to do this and get out. We're not going to draw a lot of attention to it. It was Trump who drew the attention to it. And it was months, right? Ted, you said something about they had this for months. I know it was on Garland's desk.
2 months.
2 months. They were floating this around, and the actual warrant sat on Garland's desk for 2 weeks while he debated this back and forth in that pea brain of his. So everything stinks from high heaven with this. But when we come back from this break, I tell you a quick something about whether you knew it or not. The Constitution's broke, according to some very liberal law professors. All right, we're going to take a quick break here at the bottom of the hour. Come back and listen out to the second half of the Tuesday edition of the German Party Show. 508-871-7000.
Yeah, they had it for 2 months, and one of the reasons you get a request
Short-staffed,
like that
Marco's climate
is
research facility is in the eye of
They-
the storm.
because
The atmospheric
particular
pressure to
kind
find
of
more weather
request
specialists is
to
mounting.
Man, this is going to be a
somebody
big job.
from
We're going to need a bigger
disposing
team.
of,
Indeed can help them
removing,
hire
or
great people
hiding
fast.
evidence.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly
why they
connect
had
you
it
with
for
quality
2 months
candidates
and
whose
then
resumes on
it sat on
Indeed
his
match your
desk
job
after
description.
being signed
Visit
and reviewed.
Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your
I
first
sent
sponsored
you
job.
a
Terms and
email
conditions
with
apply.
an attachment that
When
spells
I
it out.
grow up, I want to be a ballerina. They can stand on their tippy toes with fancy tutus and twirl around like magical princesses.
If your child is sick over and over again, it could be PI, a serious defect of the immune system. Early testing gives children a chance to dream.
I can't wait to grow up, because then I will leap for the stars.
Jeffrey Modell Foundation, helping children reach for their dreams. Visit info4pi.org.
On these hot August nights, the Woosocks are introducing free Twilight Tours at Fuller Park with your purchase of $20 or more at our Woosocks team store. Monday through Friday, when the team is away, pick up some gifts at the end of the day. Visit woosocks.com or call 508-500-1000 for more info.
With 20% back in rewards on color copies from Staples, you can run your business with confidence. The confidence to leave behind presentations that customers will read, not recycle. The confidence to produce color manuals that'll keep your business in the black. The confidence that your financial forecast will no longer be partly cloudy. Show off your business in full color for less at Staples. Now get 20% back in rewards on color presentations, manuals, and copies. Staples, it's pro time. Visit staples.com/20color. Expires 11/4/17. Exclusions apply.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on Powerhouse Station, WCRN. Don't forget, we're on the TuneIn app, streaming 24/7. And when you punch in WCRN, do me a favor, hit the like button. That lets us know you're there. It also makes it very easy for you to find WCRN when you want to stream the station. And I'm streaming my show on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then the YouTube channel under my name, LinkedIn under my name. And if you like Twitch TV, which is a very popular platform, I guess, we're at Joe M Show, so check it out there. So again, polls, primary, New York, we've got some interesting split there. Nadler and his opponent are facing off each other, both of them in Congress for a very, very long time. And it's coming down to Democrats have been distancing themselves from the White House and Biden while trying to run on the abortion issue. And if Republicans are smart, and a lot of them are in this sense, is they're running, of course, on what? Crime, inflation, border. 508-871-7000. Let's go to Ken, who's been waiting patiently. Good afternoon. Morning, rather, Ken. Good morning. What say you? I don't hear Ken, just so you know.
Hi, Joe. Try it again.
There you go, Ken. What say you?
Okay, Joe. Just to fill in a little bit of the story of Mar-a-Lago, I think it's become pretty obvious what happened between late June and July. The current presidential administration was getting scared of all the pressure being placed by their fellow party members. And that's when they let it be known to Garland that he needs to take action. And it's apparently been admitted just within the last 24 hours that the White House knew that Garland was going to take the action, even though they denied this.
Ken, you're telling me that Biden is being political and he lied about knowing it? He's the president of the United States. I don't believe that. There's no way the president.
Politicians never lied, Joe. Never lied.
So now they are having to admit the White House actually knew because, let's see, the Attorney General isn't going to brief the President of the United States on the most unprecedented violation of former president ever, right? And something that is going to lock the political and constitutional worlds. They leave Joe Biden out of this. Are you kidding me, folks?
Just by chance. But anyway, I just wanted to fill that in and cross over to the fact that we are 2 weeks away from the primary vote.
Yes,
September
I know,
6th.
right? I mean,
And we are also...
What, 78 days from the general, right? From the election, I think it is. I usually look at
something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 78 today. So it'll be here very, very fast, folks. Now, I think Ken, that our primary, is in 2 weeks from today, and then we have the general election in less than 3 months, right? It's about 78 days. I think that's going to come very quickly, and then I think it's going to be an agonizing period of time between November and January when people get sworn in. It's going to seem like that takes like a year to go by, right? Because we'll be itching to have the House, hopefully, in theory,
we hope
change.
There's far more than that. So, we need to be very focused on how important November 8th and the dates prior to that. In fact, another date is just 30 and a half hours away. And that would be the deadline for the petition, which apparently has enough signatures. But folks, if you know somebody that's still holding on to, right, If
Yeah,
you
that-
know somebody that's still holding on, you haven't signed yet, by all means, don't think, but they got enough. Because they could show up with 50 and be denied 10,000.
Yeah.
They're going to do everything they can to stop this petition from getting on the ballot.
Yeah, they're going to look closer at the look at. You know what a good example of this is, Ken? Let's go to California and look at the recall of Cascone. Right? They collected over the number of signatures they are, but they had something like a 20, 21%, 22% rejection rate. In the last general election, they had like under 2% rejection rate. In other words, they general election they didn't look
A
very
little bit
high.
different.
But when they did this recall,
Just a little outside of normal.
oh man, did they examine those signatures with a fine-tooth comb? Right? I picture them looking at it with a Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass, and absolutely right, and probably, I'd venture to say, and that's why they're appealing this. I'd venture to say they probably rejected signatures that they shouldn't have, but they found a reason to.
Oh, sure.
You know, and so
Sure.
so look, Massachusetts is going to do the same thing because the powers to be look at they
Right.
voted it, they
The old smell
overrode
test.
the governor's veto, right? So they're going to do what they can, and I don't understand why this is the hill they want to die on. Like, pick your battles. I mean, there's a lot of support.
No.
A lot of support.
No, Joe, you're missing the mindset of the left. They think they own the state.
Oh, I don't miss
They
that.
think they're going to turn this. They think they own the state, and they're going to turn Massachusetts into California East. Seriously,
Yeah,
just look at the attorney general candidate.
Yeah.
The attorney general candidates have become a contest of who can be lined up to be the next squad member in a few years.
Yeah.
Because that's what they look and sound like.
Yeah, and Maura Healey is no prize chicken either. I mean, she's as woke as they come as well, right? I mean, look at what she did. Look, I still have a problem with that unilateral decision about AR-15s that she made in the Commonwealth. That was so far outside of her scope of authority, right? And none of this, those signatures from Cascone, the way that they're doing this, we have some councilmen and a state rep harassing people, gathering signatures, intimidating them. This is just crazy because, again, it seems, and I'm not saying that it doesn't happen on both sides, folks, before I start getting all the texts and emails, but it seems more often than not that you've got people on the left that when things don't go their way, they don't let the system, work the way it's supposed to. If it goes against them, they start with the the picketing and the harassing and the threats and all this, if they don't like the law, they try to have the court change it. When the court doesn't go their way, then the court needs to be reformed. They don't want to play by the rules all the time, and those rules in our system is set up with checks and balances. Like this. I mean, I said this back when, like, Bernie, I think it was Bernie Sanders, right, when they were going through the Build Back Better, and he said, you've only got these two people holding up the whole bill. And it's like, no, Bernie, see, you don't even consider the fact that the other 50 members of Congress are Republican and they're against it. You think it's just all up to Democrats, and then it's two people holding it up. It's 52 people holding it up, Bernie. And this is the attitude that constantly on the left is that you got to think the way I do. You got to go along with it. And if you're not, then we got to attack you. Instead of realizing it doesn't. I said this, I think, yesterday about, I don't understand why people think that these legislations that Joe Biden got, that got through the House and the Senate are some kind of victory. First of all, anything that is horrible for the American people is no victory, folks, right? They scammed you on this entire Inflation Reduction Act. It was just a climate change bill, and it's going to increase inflation. It's going to put undue regulations, and it's going to put all kinds of power and money into bureaucrats that never existed before, to the level of they never existed before. It's not a good bill. But for some reason, that's supposed to be a victory. And how is it a victory when you control the House and the Senate, you idiot? That's no victory. You had to fight to get what your own party did. So no victory there. And he didn't take the lap, right? Because he can't go around. If this was truly an Inflation Reduction Act he would be out there, if he could physically do it, taking the tour around the country, talking it up. But immediately after they passed it, Ken, what did they do? They admitted that it was really a climate change bill, not an Inflation Reduction Act. So they can't go out on the road touting this because they scammed you. Go ahead. I'm
Getting
sorry.
back to the local stuff going on, Joe. I brought up topics about have you seen this commercial, that commercial, and it sounds like you haven't watched a lot of the local stuff. But
no.
There's a big barrage just in the last couple of days now of both the Attorney General candidates and the question one, which I suspect you're familiar with, the millionaire's surge tax, 80%. Well, let me get you a little piece of the commercial. You know, they're trying to sell you, you got to get the rich, and it's going to give money to this and that. And they show someone going up a private jet. Kind of looked a little bit like John Kerry or one of his friends. From my way of thinking, of course, their way of thinking, that's only rich Republicans. But it's funny how the Republican Party isn't so rich.
No.
It's the Democrats that's got filthy rich with donors' money.
Yeah, in union money.
And then they fly around the world complaining about the sky's going to fall. Climate change. Absolutely incredible. But our time is limited.
The thing is, I don't watch. I should probably start watching 4, 5, and 7 a little more to see, because I really just watch the online news stuff and read articles online. But I probably should see what's out there, because I really haven't seen the political ads that are going on. But it's funny how they do try to position all of this, right? And they're still trying to make Republicans, out to be, first of all, fascist and racist, and yet all the things that they accused would happen under Trump seems to be happening under this administration. Total violation of constitutional rights, weaponizing the DOJ, the FBI, the IRS. We got wars breaking out all over the world. And you look at the Trump administration, it was one of the most peaceful administrations. No new wars started. It was the wage gap for the first time in like 90 years. The wage gap was actually diminishing, and it was the blue collar type job wages that were going up, not the upper income. And by any metrics that you look at it, it was a fantastic, effective, good for America 4 years. But the media will never let that happen. They were willing to blow up peace in the Middle East because it was Trump's doing, instead of letting the Abrams Accords play out. We're coming up against the clock, Ken. Thank you for the call. Always good stuff. I will make an effort to try to see some of these ads. I'll scan the local channels a little bit. We have to put up with some of that programming. But all right, fourth and final segment after this break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll wrap up the Tuesday edition of the show. Reminding you that I'll be in Thursday morning. We're turning around. Let's get Thursday for Jerry. 508-879-7000. Back on the other side.
In this tight labor market, finding new employees can be tough. Whether you're the business owner or an HR professional, you want access to highly qualified candidates fast. More than 3 million businesses use Indeed.com, the world's #1 job site. Whether you need entry-level or highly skilled employees, no matter the industry, with Indeed, you get immediate access to a high-quality.
Yeah, that video I sent you is she's an attorney.
Yeah.
That may have more to say later, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'll watch it after the show. I think I might have seen that clip, actually. We've gone Pedlo's show.
I think it's Cofield.
Something like that, yeah.
I can't remember.
.com/offer. That's Indeed.com/offer. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
I had been unable to hear conversation.
I was blaming my family whispering. I used to spend all the time saying, what?
If you or a loved one can identify with this, the hearing aid specialists Peter and Alex Lee at Professional Hearing on 33 Lyman Street in Westboro can correct or restore your hearing. Don't miss out
They
on
don't
what
come
you're
clean
not
on this
hearing.
one.
Call Peter and Alex
There
Lee
will be
at 508
blood in the streets, I tell you.
8686 or on the web at prohearinghealth.com.
The difference is amazing.
If you have a hearing loss and you don't have it corrected, you're losing out.
I would recommend professional hearing and Mr. Lee to anyone who experiences a hearing problem.
To find out if you have a hearing
Well,
loss,
it's
call today.
like,
508-366-8686.
when they shot the
Or
prince
go to
on the bridge. It's gonna
prohearinghealth.com.
light the fuse,
Professional
my
hearing in
friend.
Westboro.
You know, it's like a
Schedule
powder
your
keg
free
right now.
consultation now.
And this something like if they ignore it and they try to wash it, that will light the fuse.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, welcome back for the fourth and final segment of the Tuesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show, AM 830 WCRN, live streaming on the TuneIn app, and of course, I'm streaming it on my social media platforms. 508-871-7000 to get into the conversation. It's 508-871-7000. So, as I was saying, the thing is, it seems that when things work for the left at the polling, that's great. When it doesn't, they go to the courts or they attack the individuals or the judges, right? And just a short time ago, everything, don't trust law enforcement and so forth. Now the left loves the FBI. Maybe we should get police and the Border Patrol to raid Mar-a-Lago, and then they'll have positive feelings about them as well. But it just seems it always is what works for me and doesn't work for them. And then when the Constitution works for them, they love it. But here's the thing. New York Times, along with a couple of professors, Yale and Harvard, Yendi Dorfler and Samuel Mon, right, professors at Harvard Law School and Yale respectively, they said they've had it with the Constitution. Yeah, you heard me. They had it with the Constitution. And constitutionalism. So the New York Times writes the other day that the real need is not to reclaim the Constitution, as many would have it, but instead reclaim America from constitutionalism. Wow. Wow. They claim that fundamentally anti-democratic opposing barriers from the past and the will of the present, our Constitution that is, which they call broken, supposedly partakes of those, difficult amendment process, or electoral college, right? They literally want to do away with the blueprint of the country, because they're saying you don't want to listen to these old dead white guys that were all racist and colonialists, and they were just bad people, and after all they died, right? And you should just listen to the future. I mean, because what do you have to guide yourself except for history in the past, folks? You should not listen to the Constitution and those that wrote it. You should listen to us liberal leftist lawyers. We got your best interest at heart. And they think that we should do away with the Electoral College, right? And Senate proportion equally by state. Judges should have a lifetime tenure, which they do. The left, they write, wrongly seeks to work through constitutionalism. I am pretty close to a constitutionalist. I don't understand why these things, and here's the thing about this. The same people who, the group of people who keep referring to the Constitution is broken. Go look at the talking heads, right? Whether it's The View or that Reed person or whatever. And they're like, the Constitution. It's almost like some kind of make-believe thing. And every time I hear somebody, I'm wondering, have they ever read the Constitution? Have they ever taken not a liberal tainted history class from a real historian? Have they actually read the Constitution and digested it, right? Because the way they talk, I don't think they have. And the same people who say the Constitution's broken, you need to, do they listen to themselves? You're going to take a look back and realize, do you understand that just about every victory you've had and everything you consider progress in fixing this broken country came via the Constitution? Think about that for a moment. Civil rights. It's because the Supreme Court, a bunch of white guys at the time, said, yeah, this is actually in violation of the Constitution. We didn't have it right back in 1800s, and we got to fix this. And that everything they consider victories, interracial marriage, gay marriage, these are all things that have been determined by SCOTUS to be in violation of the Constitution. So if the Constitution is broken and we stop paying attention to it, then those that were in power and liked the way that things were would have kept them that way, and you would have had no redress to change them. You would have had no path to follow to sue and get it in front of the Supreme Court, argue the constitutional merit of it, and then the court, after hearing the arguments, say, you're absolutely right. This doesn't pass constitutional muster. It doesn't pass the smell test. It's done. So we're going to fix that. So every time there is progression in this country, it's because of the blueprint. The owner's manual is the Constitution. So this here is this article in the New York Times and these remote professors from Yale and Harvard. It's tantamount to a tantrum, to your child rocking and crying on the floor and blubbering. It's absolutely disgusting that they said that the Constitution is broken and that we should do away with it. Listen to us. Right? They write, first we must learn anew the good of constitutionalism. Constitutions mark a significant step forward in the science of human government. They come from a recognition of human beings sometimes act unjustly and imprudently for momentary passions like anger or fear. Constitutions place certain principles and institutional arrangements beyond the reach of these passing episodes. They do so as an act of sovereign people seeking to place reasonable controls on their own deeds. In other words, constitutions are democratic. They are an act of self-government that sets us up for the best conditions for the people's own decision-making. And that's why we need the Constitution. That's why this country, the fact that people always want to change the country, it totally, they miss the point that they can only have those conversations. And they can always only protest like that because of the Constitution, because they guaranteed free speech, because they can't be unjustly, politically imprisoned or searched and seized. Full loop right back to Mar-a-Lago. Anyway, thought you should know about this. If you missed it in the news today, this little thing about the Constitution's broken and we need to be fixing that. All right, we only have a few minutes left, but back to the border and the Abbott underground bus system, I guess, right? So for the second time, Bowser in D.C. has asked for National Guard to help with these and get in migrant crisis. She uses the word crisis. See, when it's happening to her, it's a crisis. When it's happening to the states that abut the border, you're horrible, you fascists. This is America. We don't turn people away. Deal with it, right? So for the second time, the Pentagon denied the request by Muriel Browser to activate the National Guard to assist with thousands of migrants who have been arriving in the capital here in the recent months. Now, she asked for the Guard help last month. It was rejected by the Pentagon back on August 4th. Then she sent another letter on the 11th requesting that, got a little more specific, right? So, okay, my request got denied, so let me say what I need. So she sent the letter on the 11th requesting that 150 National Guard troops be deployed to, quote, help prevent a prolonged humanitarian crisis in our nation's capital resulting from the daily arrival of migrants, unquote. Sanctuary City, like New York, LA, San Francisco, Portland, yada, yada, yada. And Trump said it way back, right? You remember they got all flipped out on when he said, well, maybe all these sanctuaries, we should just send all the illegal immigrants to the sanctuary cities, the self-proclaimed. Because last time I checked, governors and mayors can't unilaterally decide what laws they get to follow, but apparently you can do that. If you're a Democrat, you can do that when it comes to your city. Well, Defense Department Executive Secretary Billy Belliner, Hawley, wrote in a letter to Bowser on Monday that the D.C. National Guard is not trained to assist migrants, and activation would lead to diminished readiness for the troops. Yeah, the National Guard isn't here to do your social experiments, lady. That's not what they're there for. That's not their purpose in life. That's not why we have them. That's not the training that they do. Now, if you want to put the National Guard on the border because you want to stop invading forces, that they are trained to do. And if you really wanted to secure the border, and we can do it. Trust me, it's not like it cracks me up. The border, Mayorkas, border is secure. You don't even know the meaning of the word then, dude. It's not secure. It's anything but secure. But we could make it secure. We have the equipment. We have the manpower. We have the technology. We could secure that border, north and south, that a fly couldn't cross it without our knowledge. We always have been. For decades we've had this ability. Just that we don't do that. But this is out of control. And the fentanyl that's tied to it, I've never heard Joe Biden once ever say the word fentanyl. And we are, in essence, under attack. And now they're shipping this fentanyl over and they're making it look like candy, guys. Candy. Why would you do that? Hey, this is going to wrap up Tuesday's edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Great that you join us here. It's every Tuesday at 10, and I'll be back Thursday, solo on Political Thursday in Jerry's chair. He's out with business, and we'll be joined by Holly Robichaud and the Lieutenant Governor candidate on the Republican side, that is. And then I'm back on Friday at 1 o'clock. This will wrap it up. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. And don't forget, Joe Mangiacotti. Joe out.